But if we didn't update our target, we need to reset the timer. Didn't update the target. Or find a eatable thing. Oop. So now, this should work just fine. But what I want to do is make sure the trap wait is longer if it just ate somebody. So, all we gotta do is down here in our release. On the end of the release state, let's just reset our timer. Which we may not have to do because we're resetting it on the beginning of the idle state, right? But this is kind of one of those things where you could trap yourself. If I end the idle state, and then I eventually go through this full state to the release, and this resets it from 3 to 5 seconds, then when state release is finished, it will then call this code to start the idle state and then reset my timer. This one would be hard to notice. So what's the right way to handle that? Well, the easiest way is to do something where you do it on the forced reset instead, since this is called on the begin and is only done once or when the thing actually resets itself. So this is something I am initializing. So initializing variables is different than setting them. That way when the idle state starts, it just remembers the timer and I don't have to worry about it. And when the state release ends, it'll reset that timer from 3 to 5 seconds, and then it won't get reset when it starts the state idle. Should be good to go. So, if we did all our work properly, then the interact thing still only works if you're close enough to it. And in idle state, it looks if it has a target, and then it'll eat them randomly between 1 and 5 seconds, and then it doesn't immediately eat them till another 3 seconds. Yeah, exactly the behavior we wanted. So we have successfully added a slightly different behavior to this SPOV that's sitting here that will grab people if they're close enough, NPCs or otherwise. Hey, you, let's go on an adventure. Come on, do it. No. Why is it not working correctly? You may ask yourself. The answer is simple. What we said is every time it's just going to check and then reset the timer. What we want is a different line. This resets the timer every time you call this. So we're really not concerned about that. We want a different function. Again, the fun of having to dig through this horrible mess. Timer. Let's see, how do I have to remember the timer every versus timer greater than. Alright, so this doesn't read well. I should fix that. But here's how that would work. I just do VSO timer. That'll tell me if that timer expired. That way, we're only resetting the timer when we do not have a target or we've done the release thing. It's probably wise to reset the timer before going to the full state. So now when the plant has somebody standing on top of it for a while, then it will eat them. But they'd have to be standing there for 1 to 5 seconds. That's no good, right? So let's just not reset the timer then. Then it'll nab somebody immediately after this timer is expired. You can see the process here. This is kind of how you'd go through debugging and working with an SPOV. Obviously, you'd be doing this in larger chunks, but this is the basic idea. So now, if you get close to the thing, it'll nab you as soon as it's ready to go. So it has a delay so you can't get continually nabbed, which is the whole point. But now it works more like a video game trap. If you touch it, you're gonna get ate. But you'll notice that if I'm holding the direction, you can escape immediately. And that's because, in our state full, by the way, back to this, we're saying if we have any inputs, then do a release. We want to wait at least 0.5 seconds before allowing an escape. Back to that if true then. Hey look, we get to use another timer. There may be better ways to organize this, and I would appreciate it if somebody knew a good way to handle that. But, as it currently stands, I don't got one. So, let's do a VSO timer set. Delay escape. 0.5 seconds to 0.5 seconds. Do-ba-do-do-do-do. And then we just say VSO timer, delay escape. So we're just saying we set the timer as soon as you get 8, and if a half second has gone by, then you can escape. So we'll wait for the plant to get hungry, then if I hold down, yeah, works as intended. Yay! So you can't escape for a half second. Perfect. So there we go. That's a complete modification and edit of one of these simple SPOVs. A few more things to do before this is now. There's a few things to do after that to have something that's more tangible. But let's take a look at what there for now seems to be in game. All right, it's still got the wrong icon, but it's still missing a description. Yeah, it doesn't have any text. So let's fix those things, and then it's just filling in your feature plan. It's good to get the minimum possible thing working first, because then you have something you can test and show to people, which can help everyone proceed. You want to build a little, test a little. It's the best way to handle this kind of stuff. So, we're done with the loo, we're done with the animation, done with the frames, the vehicle, yeah. Object. We are missing some sort of icon, I have a feeling. So, let's see. NYZ extras, SPOV, ground flat plane object. So here's my icon. Useless. So let's make an icon real quick. You can drag a PNG in directly, and I don't really care about color modes, so. Since I don't really have a full plant frame yet, I'll just have to like hack one out. So let's just grab this front layer, copy it, paste it. It's in here somewhere. Or we can rotate that real quick. Now I've got the colors I want, which is what I wanted. I mean, obviously I would do this from the actual creature itself if I had the chance, but you know, this is just a tutorial. This is showing you the full process and how you would have to go through dealing with one of these horrible things. And so we do. There I go doing that again. Didn't I tell you that in the last video? Don't use your dark shading color for stuff that doesn't get dark shading. It's there for creases, not for outlining stuff. And your highlights can basically be the specular light. So, we've basically made an icon. And then you want to surround it with black for the style. And you're like, but Z, isn't there a fast way to do that? Like, maybe. Maybe there's a fast way to do that. It's like, well, possibly. With this few pixels, it may not have mattered too much. There are lots of tricks in using these tools. There's no one right way to do any of this stuff. So try not to get too hung up on that, if you can avoid it. Alright, save. Now it's got an icon. Good. Obviously it's missing some animations, and those aren't even finished. So your load is basically sprites, and then it's a question of if you want to export multiple layers. Like if I've got everything but the front layer, if I have just the front layer, then I can export my sprite sheet. We did not show you how to set this up. We will get to that. Just saying that you can go through and export these files however you wish. And now I want to make sure that I'm exporting to the Flappy plant itself. With some sprites, if there's just not a whole lot going on, you can just make all the layers and don't have to do anything fancy. It is somewhat difficult to deal with multiple layers because you'd have to have the body state and everything together. But you saw that in the animation file. You just have to have a different state, like back of leaf state. Hey look, now it's got an icon. It's there. I can destroy it. It vores things. Huzzah.